Milwaukee Bucks sent packing by the Pacers. Rick Carlisle, third season as the Pacers head coach, joining us on the program. Go back a week. When you heard that Giannis was not going to be able to play, might be limited, what adjustments did you make?
Well, a couple of the adjustments had to be with any notion that it was then going to be an easy task to try to beat these guys because they have veteran experience. They're a proud team. They've got a lot of physical toughness, and so it was uncertain. I think Giannis's injury had happened about 8 to 10 days before our series was going to start. Seemed pretty clear that he probably wouldn't play the first game, maybe the first two games, but there was a lot of just stuff flying around. It was we just didn't know, and then so that was something. And they were, the not unpredictably there was. I think their team fed the information, pathways a little bit. There was a lot of rumors about this, rumors about that. So it became in a way a different kind of challenge.
What's the differences between playoff coaching and regular season coaching?
Well, Dan, the playoffs are insanity. I mean, it's Steve Nash once said this. It's playoffs are so intense and so emotional that when you win a game in the playoffs, you get so exuberant, you feel like you're never going to lose again. And when you lose a game in the playoffs, you feel like you're never going to win again. I mean, it's that extreme. And so, you can have some big games in the regular season this year. The in-season tournament added to the intensity level a pretty significant amount, back in November, December. But there's nothing like the NBA playoffs.
When you guys get done with your win, you close out the Bucks. How quickly do you turn on the Knicks game?
Well, I drove home, which is about a 25-minute drive, and then turned it on and watched, whatever was left of the third quarter and the fourth. And I mean, you talk about ups and downs. I mean, the stuff that was going on in that series was crazy. I mean, Philly's down 8 with like 2 minutes to go and they tie it, last night. And then in game 5, I mean, we go out for our game 5, which was after the Knicks game 5. I left the locker room in Milwaukee to go out for our game. And, New York was up 6 with like 45 seconds left. And you just said, okay, well, the Knicks won. And then you find out after the game, they lost in overtime. It's like, what? But that's how crazy things can be in the playoffs.
Who does Jalen Brunson remind you of?
Well, that's a great question. He's he's forged out a niche in the NBA and really in league history and Nick history, which is very 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 unique. There's a little bit of Steve Nash, I suppose. There's some James Harden. There's some, I could go on and on. I mean, there's some Dame Lillard. There's a lot of different elements, but he's doing something that is very uniquely him. And I know Jalen well because we had him for his first couple of years when I was in Dallas. He's a guy that has extremely strong belief in himself, and New York has turned him loose, to really go and just take it to whatever extreme he can take it. And so it's been amazing to watch. I'm very happy for him, very proud of him, and very much not looking forward to playing, coaching against him.
We're talking to Rick Carlisle, the Pacers head coach. And then you have Tyrese Haliburton. Do you allow him the same kind of freedom that the Knicks do with Brunson?
Well, I think it's pretty evident that we do. I mean, Tyrese runs the team. He calls the plays. he has the latitude to be as aggressive as he deems necessary offensively. And I'm just a believer that if you have special players like a Tyrese or a Brunson, or a Doncic, who I coached for 3 years, you've got a rare opportunity to allow these guys, to have the keys. And when you do that, and empower them, great things can happen.
What was your reaction or opinion first time you saw Luca?
In person, the first time I saw him in person was, you know, he didn't play in the summer league. Um, we felt that, since he'd gone through two the Euro League and one of the other leagues, they have like different trophies. It's somewhat similar to soccer over there. But his season his the last part of his season ended like a couple of days before the draft. And so we just felt that, having him jump into summer league from the draft would have been a mistake from a physical fatigue standpoint. So we held him out. He sat on the bench during the summer league. He wanted to play, and we just we just said, no, this is not the right thing. And so the first time I saw him play in person was in a pickup game that fall in 2018, and he um, he came in, and we had signed DeAndre Jordan, we had Wes Matthews, we had um, who else? Harrison Barnes was on the team. We had the makings of a pretty good team, and he came in, and he played the pickup game like Magic Johnson. He passed the ever loving crap out of it. He was getting every rebound. He scored some, but he was just absolutely controlling the game with vision, passing, a few shots here and there. And I watched this and I said, geez, this guy's actually a point guard. We weren't sure. He played point in his team at Real Madrid, but you're just never sure how it's all going to translate to the NBA. But on day one, it was clear that he was a point guard, and so then from there, figuring out how to kind of take that in the direction it needed to go was a little challenging because we had Dennis Smith Jr., who was a young player, very talented too. So, um, but that was what day one looked like, and then once we got into the season, I you know, Luca found out that he could really score. I mean, scoring became very easy to him in the NBA. And you'd have to ask him this, but I think he probably would say that he didn't realize coming in that he would have been able to impact the game scoring wise the way he did. And so he was just super dynamic from day one. And obviously, he's a finalist for MVP now. And if it doesn't happen this year, it's going to happen soon.
Who's the best shooter in the building?
Which building?
Like your practice. How about the city of Indianapolis? Who's the best shooter in town?
Boy, it'd be hard. It'd be hard not to say that it's Tyrese Haliburton right now. Now, if Reggie Miller was in town,
What about Caitlin
might
Clark?
might be a different conversation. What's that?
Caitlin Clark, is she factor in?
Oh, she factors in. This is a trick question. I knew you'd hit me with one of these. Um, but I've got to lean toward my team just because these are my guys. But Caitlin being on the scene is really cool too. And the city, I think part of the buzz around our city and our team, comes a little bit with the buzz of her arriving in town as well.
Is Bird still in town? Do you see him often?
Uh, See him from time to time. Yeah, I don't know if he's back in Indiana yet. He's in Florida in the winter, and then he'll be back at his ranch in Southern Indiana sometime soon. But if you're asking if he's in the conversation for best shooter, I think that's an obvious yes.
I'm sure that he would still think he's the best shooter in
And I
town.
know, and I know you're going to probably ask me about the left-handed scoring thing. You asked me about that one other time. So if
That
it's
was against Portland, right?
yeah, that was against Portland. If it was about left-handed jump shooting, if you're a righty, he'd be, he'd win that contest. I'm
Okay,
pretty
imagine if Luca said, I'm going to take just left-handed shots in a game. How would you have reacted to that if you were his coach?
well. Knowing what I know about Luca, I would have let him do whatever he felt was the right thing at the time. Like I can't tell you the amount of money I lost to Luca betting against him making half court shots in practice. I mean, like coach, I'm not gonna give you the amount of money.
I think you just did.
One out of three. I was like, yeah, no way. And then he'd make this first or second one like every time. I mean, it was absolutely uncanny. And he just Luca was one of those guys that all he can ever see is how something is going to happen. Like doubt never seemed to enter his mind at all, and therefore he never thinks about missing. And so a lot of these guys are very unwilling to take these end of quarter full court heaves. And it's interesting, Dan. Like I was on some committees over the years where we talked about this, and some people said, well, why don't we just come up with a rule where if a guy takes a shot at the end of the quarter beyond half court and it misses, it doesn't count as a field goal attempt. Then you won't have all this, holding on the ball till the red light goes on and then flinging it knowing it didn't count. And then we talked about it. And then, one of the things I said was, if we do that, you're going to have guys getting the ball with 7 seconds left in the backcourt, keeping it in the backcourt, keeping it behind the line, behind the half court line, so that on the chance that it doesn't go in, they don't get a field goal attempt.
Oh, so that's all stat related
Yeah,
that these
I
guys
mean,
don't want to take these shots.
yeah, and you're really seriously asking that question.
Well, I'm surprised that, these guys just shoot.
Oh, but I'm saying no, but in the case of Luca, in the case of Tyrese, I had Daryl Armstrong for 1 year as a player, and Daryl took it as a personal challenge, and he made 2 or 3 of them from
Yeah.
60 feet. And I'm saying, like, if you eliminated all the full and 3/4 court heaves that Luca takes and Tyrese takes, these guys would be shooting they're already shooting a great percentage from three. I mean, it would be like exponentially higher. So there's a different wiring for some of these guys. And Bird was the same way. Bird would shoot it every time. But you see a lot of guys at the end of quarters, they hang on to it, and then they hear the buzzer, red light goes on, and then
I like that.
Then they fling it up there.
That's funny. When did carrying get out of control?
Carrying
the ball. I mean, we're already past traveling, but like I go back to Stockton and Iverson, it felt like they were the first guys, and now everybody carries the basketball. Why is that? These are things that bother me.
Dan, I love this show, and you were my mentor at ESPN, which is one of the reasons I've had such a great broadcasting career, probably. But I'm not into a $50,000 or $60,000 fine talking about
okay.
carrying the show. I know this is a very highly rated show.
No, it's the concept. It's not the refs. It's that we've allowed it in college and high school. How about you can be the anti-carrying chairman in the offseason?
We, as if you're one of the ones that's responsible.
It bothers me. It bothers me.
Yeah, I don't see it as that big a problem. I mean, we had a carry called on Tyrese in Game 5 or something like this, and so it still gets called. I think I think the bigger thing is that players have adjusted to it, and I don't think players carry the ball as much as they did perhaps in the old days. Traveling is another big challenge, but the league has made a point of it. I think they've done a better job with it.
You're not going to get fined.
I won't now, but
There was a chance you were headed down that path. Did I ever tell you when I got Steve Kerr fined? Accidentally?
Did you ever tell me? I probably saw it on, your Instagram stuff comes up all the time. So, I may have seen it.
Yeah. I think I cost him 25 grand. He was the GM of the Suns. And I was asking him about maybe, hey, you got the mid-level exemption for LeBron. And he talked about that. And he wasn't allowed to talk about, he was joking. And the commissioner fined him 25 grand. So,
yeah, I mean, after the Indiana Fever got the first pick, I got a couple of questions. Hey, what do you think about Caitlin Clark? And then I said, well, I got to be careful about what I say because I don't want to violate any rules here, but I can't get enough of these step back 40-footers. I mean, this is the best watching her play, So we're obviously looking forward to they play pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
They jump right into this thing. But anyway, yeah, no, look, there are certain things you got to be careful,
I know.
Talking about.
Yeah, I know. All right, well, rest that voice for Monday against the Knicks. You're going to need it in the Garden.
Appreciate that. Good to see you as always.
Thank you, Rick. That's Rick Carlisle, Pacers head coach, two-time NBA champ. He was there with the '86 Celtics and coach of the Mavericks in 2011.